Do you know who I am? I'm kind of a big deal.
Hello, welcome in to the Bmore Baseball Podcast with Mike Bordick and Jerry Coleman. He's, of course, the former 14-year MLB veteran and Orioles Hall of Famer Mike Bordick. I'm Jerry Coleman. A reminder, we're up with brand new podcast content, folks. You can find us now at the Bmore Ball Pod. We're also on YouTube. Bmore Ball Pod on YouTube. Bmore Ball Pod. And when you follow us, you qualify for a chance to win a $50 gift card from Lido Pizza. The first 10 people who subscribe right now will get a $50 gift card courtesy of Lido Pizza. Again, just send us photographic evidence and you get the free food. Today in episode 5, we'll be joined by Buck Martinez, the former player, manager, and Orioles broadcaster, now, of course, working in Toronto where the Orioles start their season. We'll also talk about the return of veteran pitcher Kyle Gibson to a rather veteran-laden pitching rotation and preview the AL East, see where the Orioles stand. Plus, the doc stops by in our What's the Doc segment with Dr. Michael Jacobs, who will explain what a team doctor's responsibilities are heading into the beginning of the Major League season. But as always, we bring in our featured guests. They're sponsored by Pappas Seafood. From crab cakes to seafood classics, they will deliver straight to your door. 4 locations in the Baltimore area, plus nationwide shipping. Order today simply at pappascrabcakes.com. He's the former player, manager, and current broadcaster of the Blue Jays. It's Buck Martinez. Now, Buck, you know, we're setting a record here on the Bmore Baseball Podcast. This is our 3rd consecutive episode with either a current or former Major League manager. We had Torey Lovullo a few weeks ago. Then it was Tony La Russa last week. And now here we have you. And I want to begin by asking you about the roles of managers these days. Has it been diminished? And what about the fiery managers we used to see back in the day? We got some great stories last week from La Russa about Earl and Sparky and Lou and Billy Martin and the way they used to come out and challenge the umpires. We don't see that as often anymore. Any indication why?
Yeah, they've changed the rules. No, it's unfortunate because that was one of the most exciting parts of the game. I love watching Earl Weaver, of course. I came up in 1969 with the Royals, and that was when the O's were in their prime, and Earl was a trip, man. I mean, I love the video of Earl and Bill Haller in Baltimore at Memorial Stadium when they talk and they point their fingers at each other, and they, you touched me. No, I didn't touch you. You're a liar. No, I'm not a liar. We miss all of that great stuff. And, of course, Lou Piniella. He was my teammate in Kansas City. He was the Rookie of the Year in 1969 with the Royals, and no one was more fiery or passionate about the baseball game. And, yeah, we miss all of that. That's a big part of the game. There's, Bordy, there's a lot of things that we have legislated out of the game, breaking up double play, collision at home plate, knocking down pit hitters. You can't do that anymore, and I think that's a big part of the game that's missing.
I agree, Buck. The integrity of the game for sure. You mentioned getting knocked over at home plate. And there have been a couple catchers, obviously, in the past that have gotten hurt. And I think, saving players is certainly why they've changed the rules. But you had one of those moments back in 1985. Now, the Orioles last year had a catcher, James McCann, that endeared himself forever to Oriole fans when he took a ball in the face and came back in the game. I got to believe that you endeared yourself to Blue Jays fans forever when you made that incredible double play. Can you take us through that play back in 85?
Yeah, I sure can, Bordy. And actually, I wasn't supposed to play that game. Bobby Cox was the manager of the Blue Jays at that time, and Ernie Witt and I were splitting time behind the plate. And what had happened was we were calling up Tom Filer to make his Blue Jays debut with us, and Coxie came to me about 2 p.m. and said, "You're catching tonight." And I said, "It's not my time to catch." He said, "Tom Filer's pitching. I want you to catch him." And at the time, I was hitting a robust 160, I think. And that's why, I had to do whatever I could to help the team. But it was actually a play. The inning before, a similar play, Jesse Barfield was our right fielder. And you remember what a great arm he had. And Jesse had a fly ball there, right? Jim Presley was at third base. Presley tagged up. Barfield threw the ball on the first base side of home plate. I caught it, dove back over the plate, and tagged Presley out for a 9-2 double play. That was pretty routine. But then the very next inning, and, I went in the dugout and I said, "Jesse, next time, throw it on the other side of the plate. Make it a little easier for me." Well, sure enough, that situation presented itself in the very next inning with Phil Bradley at second base, and Oriole fans will remember Phil Bradley, of course, and he was the quarterback at Mizzou. And when he was the quarterback, they had the option. So he would toss the ball to James Wilder and then take out the defensive end. Well, I was the defensive end on that play. So Gorman Thomas gets a base hit to right field. Barfield comes up throwing, and just exactly as I told him, he threw it on the third base side of home plate. I caught the ball. Bradley hit me the same time. Dislocated my ankle and broke my leg. So now, this is funny. It just happened the other day. Larry Young is an umpiring supervisor. He came in our booth down in Dunedin 2 days ago. And I told Dan Shulman, I said, this is the guy that was at home plate when I got bowled over. And Larry Young said, give me the ball. Show me the ball. Show me the ball. So I held the ball up, and then I saw Gorman running from second to third, and I threw it toward third base. It went down the left field line. And this is the miracle of the play, Bordy. George Bell picked it up and threw a one-hop strike to me. How many times has he done that in his career? But anyway, I tagged out Gorman Thomas. It was a 9-2, 7-2 double play. The only time it's ever happened, but that was the end of my season. But, yeah, you mentioned fans endeared me. I'm remembered for two things in my baseball career. Played 17 years in the majors, managed the Blue Jays, managed the World Baseball Classic. The two things that fans remember me for, breaking my leg and not talking for 22 minutes as a broadcaster during the Cal Ripken game.
That's awesome. Buck, you've experienced so much, and obviously an incredibly long major league career as a catcher, hardest position in the game, but you were known for your incredible defense. I mean, you played over 7,000 games. You're one of the best at actually blocking balls. Can you tell, what are your thoughts about how catchers are presenting themselves today? And I don't know, it looks like an inability to actually be consistent at blocking balls.
Yeah, is this a mature audience or not?
Yeah, go ahead. It's a family-oriented.
Okay, well, I'll give you the family version. I think it's awful. I just really think it's awful. I mean, they put so much emphasis on framing, and nobody has ever asked an umpire what they think of framing. I go to see the umpires every day in a series. I'll go in and introduce myself again and see what's going on, what's happening with rules, what's different this year. And I always ask umpires, what do you think of framing? And they say, we hate it. Because think about this. Every time that catcher moves a glove, it tells the umpire the catcher thought it was a ball. And now he's going to ask you to call it a strike. I think it's the biggest joke in baseball, the framing, because umpires call the pitch over the plate.
Right.
Remember when you played in Little League and the catcher used to catch the ball, go, oh, it's a strike. You have it way up here on the right side and then bring it down. Oh, that's a strike, umpire. So yeah, I don't agree with it at all. And another thing I don't agree with is catching on one knee. I mean, catching on one knee limits your lateral movement. There's no question about it. And I don't understand how managers and organizations can be satisfied giving up 90 feet when they might get 2 or 3 strikes during the course of a game. 90 feet to me is more valuable than a called strike. And but that's the way the game is, and everybody seems to be doing it. Another thing I think is really a problem is when a catcher presents a target, he holds that glove right in the middle of his body, and it becomes a bullseye. So now the pitcher sees that bullseye, but as he's winding up, the catcher takes the glove away, puts his glove on the ground so he can catch the ball in an upward motion. Yeah. I don't get it at all, but I'm old school.
Yeah. More of the Bmore Baseball podcast coming right up. At Pappas Restaurants, we've been serving up Maryland's best crab cakes for over 5 decades, and now we make it easier than ever to get your favorites. With 4 restaurants and sports bar locations across Harford County, Baltimore County, and Anne Arundel County, you can stop in for fresh seafood, ice-cold drinks, and wall-to-wall TVs. But if you can't make it in, don't worry. We'll bring Pappas to you. Our new state-of-the-art shipping and commissary location on Bel Air Road in Nottingham means you can pick up fresh-made meals or have our famous crab cakes and seafood shipped anywhere in the country. Dine in, pick up, or ship nationwide. However you Pappas, we've got you covered. Order now at pappascrabcakes.com.
There are a lot of myths out there about how the Maryland lottery works. Playing the lottery responsibly means knowing what's true and what's not. The facts are, all games have similar odds. You should never try to recover losses by taking more risks. And you shouldn't play the lottery when you're feeling stressed. But the biggest fact is, you should always play responsibly. Learn more facts and myths at mdlottery.com, and please play responsibly.
The Be More Baseball podcast welcomes Relief Shop. Shop, Maryland's largest adult use and medical cannabis menu, located at 1114 Cathedral Street in Baltimore, with medical delivery available throughout Maryland 7 days a week. Only at Relief Shop. It's saving season at Lido Pizza. 99-cent refreshing iced teas for spring and summer, or $6 calzones every Tuesday. There are tons of new deals and rewards for everyone, exclusively at LidoPizza.com or on the Lido Pizza app. Lido Pizza, a local legend since 1955, proud partner of the Baltimore Orioles. Effective Solutions, your one-stop shop for commercial contracting. Everything from excavation and site development to emergency remediation and restoration. Effective Solutions specializes in many forms of commercial and mixed-use construction. With a dedicated staff and a commitment to quality, Effective Solutions delivers every time. And now, back to the Be More Baseball podcast.
A lot of things have definitely changed in the game of baseball, that's for sure. Some for the better. I think some are kind of head scratchers, that's for sure. But I'd like to turn my attention to the American League East. You're so familiar with the East. Of course, here in Baltimore, our hopes and aspirations are high with these young guys. But the Blue Jays have had the same kind of team where they had young guys come up and there were incredibly high expectations. And in my opinion, the Blue Jays have actually tried harder than any other team to put together a winning team, but for one reason or another, it just hasn't fallen into place. What are your thoughts on the Blue Jays and how they're going to compete in the East this year?
Well, Bordick, and we take it for granted, winning is very difficult. I mean, everybody, when you get to the major leagues, everybody is pretty good. And the separator for me is the teams that win the margins, the teams that don't make mistakes, the teams that catch the ball, the teams that throw strikes. And I don't want to hear about hitting home runs. You'll remember Sparky Anderson's Tigers back in the 80s had a tremendous offense, but they couldn't pitch and they couldn't catch it, so they never won anything. And, Earl Weaver, of course, great pitching and a 3-run home run. That was his philosophy for years. And baseball hasn't changed. No matter how much you want to put into the analytic information, baseball is always who scores more runs than the other team. And if you score more runs than the other team, you're going to win. And I just think that the AL East is a very competitive division. The ballparks are very challenging for pitchers to pitch in. And I think the competition, everybody in the East knows that they've got to put together a good team. But for this particular edition of the Blue Jays, I think they're much better than people think. They won 74 games last year. And, it's a last place team. So how can they jump 20 games? That would be a stretch for sure. But I think they can get back into the hunt. I think they can compete again. And certainly with Anthony Santander, you guys all know him very well, and he's really fit in well here with the Blue Jays. Andres Gimenez, Max Scherzer, Jeff Hoffman, all of those guys have raised the competitive nature of this team dramatically, and it started in day one in spring training.
Does Vladimir Guerrero finish the season wearing Blue Jay colors?
Yes. I don't think they can trade him at this point because they won't get true value for him. It's too late. He's a free agent at the end of the year. You're not going to get much in return because he's basically a rental. Mark Shapiro, the president of baseball operations in Toronto, last week said that he's encouraged and optimistic they'll get Vladdy signed. If the Blue Jays wanted to drop a bomb, they would sign him before Thursday. And the whole country would celebrate. It would be Canada Day all over again. But, and I know they're not that far apart. And
there's this perception out there, Buck, and I mean, you can clarify it as well as anyone, that the Blue Jays have as much money, as much resources as any team in Major League Baseball.
That's true. They do. It's owned by Rogers Communication, and Rogers Communication is a media giant. They have cable TV, they've got TV networks, they've got, and it's part of the MLSE. The Raptors, the Maple Leafs, the Blue Jays, they're all owned by Rogers. So there's a lot of money there, but it just depends on how much of that money do you want to spend, and they can afford him. There's no question about it. Vladdy is not asking for Soto money. He's just not. He understands it's a different situation. He's not a free agent yet, but Vladdy Guerrero is exactly what you want in a free agent. He was born in Canada. He loves Toronto. You don't have to convince him to come here and find out what a good place it is to play. Bordy knows what a great place it is to play. Yeah. And it's a tremendous ballpark. And when you think about 92, 93, back-to-back World Series, 15 and 16, and the Orioles know all about 15 and 16, the competitive nature of those two teams. But you can't replace Vladdy Guerrero. There's nobody on the upcoming free agent market that can come close to replacing Vladdy Guerrero. And he just turned 26 this month. He's at the prime of his career. He's been a 4-time All-Star. He's finished second in the MVP voting to Ohtani a couple years ago. He hit .323 last year, and he's a Gold Glove first baseman. I mean, he checks all the boxes, and it's just a matter of them getting together. And the catchphrase has been, the Blue Jays and Guerrero need to share the risk. Well, there is risk. We know that with the 10, 12, 14-year contract. You're not going to be the same player at the end of that contract as you are at the beginning. But that's the price, and that's the price you have to pay to compete in this day and age of free agency.
Yeah, free agent market is crazy, and I think Soto kind of setting the bar is that all these young superstars kind of step back and say, hey, wait a second now, I might not do the hometown deal. The Orioles have a few incredibly young superstars that fall into that Vladdy category. When you see the Orioles and guys like Gunnar Henderson and Adley Rutschman, what are your thoughts in the background about this young team?
It's a backbone of an organization for 10 years. When you have premier players at premium positions in catcher, shortstop, you've got what you look for your entire life. So, and I know the character of those two guys. They're terrific players. They're great people. And, they think about the team first and foremost. And I think that you have to get to a point where you can convince them that it's a very equitable contract and sign them for the long term. Sign them before they ever get close to free agency, because there's no question about their character. There's no question about their skills, and there's no question about their dedication to the Orioles. So you got to figure out a way to sign them. Reach the right number that you can sign those guys and build around them. Bordy, the key to success over the long haul is to have enough homegrown talent that you can complement that with free agency. You can't win a World Series championship with free agency. You can win it by complementing your homegrown players with free agency, but you can't. You have to have a foundation. And all those great Oriole teams were homegrown players. They were all homegrown players. And when they brought up Cal and they had Eddie Murray and they had all those guys that they brought up together, it was homegrown talent. And then if you need a piece or two, that's when you complement that with free agency.
Hey, we've been talking about some of the great Blue Jays of all time. I mean, Dave Steve, Joe Carter, Fred McGriff. Where's Mike Bordick fit in the lexicon of Blue Jays history, Buck?
Well, he is way up there, of course, Jerry, because he is such a great baseball player, and he's a great character too. Now, Bordy and I go back a long way. We had a great situation when he was in Oakland. And I don't know if you remember this, Mike, but we had a producer that went to Maine, and he used to tell us all the time about how great Maine was. And so I convinced Mike to do an interview with me. And he said, I said, Bordy, what really surprised you about this season? Well, the Oakland A's are pretty good. They're playing really well. But what really surprises me is that Tom Clark graduated from Maine, and he was in the truck. It was a tremendous piece of television, and we had a lot of fun with it. But, yeah, that was a good memory I have from my broadcasting days when Bordy was with the A's.
I'll tell you what, I know I'm a legend up there in Toronto because they keep showing my home run that I hit. And fortunately, I guess Carlos Delgado hit 4 in that game, but they're constantly showing my game on TV. It seems like every other weekend.
Yeah, you always get your game on TV. That's pretty cool. And that's why I always get on the sports highlights with the Cal Ripken game, because Cal's running around the bases and Chris Berman and I didn't say anything for 22 minutes.
Right. Oh, what a moment that was. Hey, I got another question here. And, experience in the game as much as you have, your influential kind of teammates or managers that maybe said or did the right thing that helped you stay in this game for as long as you have.
Well, over the course of my career, I signed in 1967 with the Philadelphia Phillies. And my first manager was Bobby Malcolmus. He was a utility player that played for the Phillies for a little while. But, he showed me how to be a pro. And you remember your first manager in the minor leagues was like a father figure because you were away from home for the first time. You're playing pro ball and you don't know how to act. So he helped me an awful lot. But there were several, if you don't mind, there's several of them that I think were very interesting to me. And it was a coach in Kansas City named George Strickland. He played with the Cleveland Indians in the heyday of the Indians. And he told me I was a 20-year-old rookie in the big leagues. Had come from A-ball. And I was as green as St. Patrick's Day. And he came over to my locker, and I had said something that was kind of silly and stupid. And he wrote in a black magic marker, there was a pillar right in front of my locker, and he wrote this saying on the marker. He says, "John, it is better to be silent and thought a fool than to open one's mouth and remove all doubt."
Yeah.
In other words, open your ears, keep your mouth shut, and learn how to play ball in the big leagues. But that was a great piece of advice. But Hal McRae, George Brett, Bobby Cox, Bob Lemon, Whitey Herzog, all those guys had a dramatic impact on my career. And McRae came from the Big Red Machine, and he came to Kansas City early on, and he really kind of pushed Charlie Lau away. And Charlie Lau was the great hitting coach for George Brett. And he pushed him back and says, "Hey, I got this league, man. It's the American League. I come from the Reds, and we're the Big Red Machine," and all that stuff. Well, one day in Anaheim, Mac had grounded out for the fourth time to the shortstop, but he went around first base in Anaheim. You know how players come from the first base end of the dugout down to where their manager is. He got in front of Charlie Lau. He ripped his jersey open. He says, "Lau, I'm done. I'm all yours. Whatever you want me to do, I'll do it." And that was the turning point for Hal McRae in his career. But Mac taught us how to play hard. Mac taught George Brett how to play hard. And, George, of course, still a great friend, a tremendous player. And that was our signature in Kansas City. Play hard like Mac, and everything will take care of itself.
Yeah. Hey, Buck, before we let you go here, wanted to get your thoughts just all together, and we'll do it later in the podcast, just previewing the whole entire AL East. There's been some additions, some subtractions, but most importantly, a bunch of injuries during spring training.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest concern right now for the AL East in general. I mean, Shane McClanahan walked off the field the other day. You guys got Grayson Rodriguez and Gunnar on the IL. Big losses. And, of course, the Yankees with Garrett Cole and Luis Gil. And there are just so many people that are hurt. And even with Boston, they got Brian Bayo and Luis Giolito. And they're on the Cutter Crawford's on the IL to start the season. And it's going to be competitive. I think the Blue Jays came through it really well as far as the injuries go. Their starting rotation, I think, is really getting overlooked. I think the starting rotation has 5 strong pitchers. The addition of Hoffman as the closer in the bullpen, Jimmy Garcia, Chad Green, Nick Sandlin from the Guardians. They've got a good bullpen. And, Santander, as much as you folks don't want to see him in a Blue Jays uniform, he's going to have an impact on his team. And, Bordy, you can appreciate this. Andres Jimenez might be Robbie Alomar. He's a tremendous player. He can really pick it. And 3 years ago, he had 297. Right. And he's driven in 60 runs in each of the last 3 seasons. The Blue Jays, the most a player started at second base last year was 37 games. And that was the first baseman, Spencer Horwitz. So with Bo and Jimenez up the middle, you know what it's like as a shortstop. When you have that second base partner for every single game, you guys think alike. And it's going to help. I think it's going to help Bo's defense, but I really think it's going to help his offense, because he won't have to worry about who he's playing second base with, and that'll be a distraction when he goes to the plate. I think Bo Bichette's going to be a contender for MVP. I think he's in a great spot. We forget how good he is because of the injured season last year, but he was on the verge of leading the American League in hits 3 straight seasons before he got hurt. So he's in great shape, ready to go.
Hey, Buck, we really appreciate you taking the time. Orioles starting there north of the border. Enjoy the opening series, and we look forward to seeing you here in Charm City, and we'll take care of you with a couple of crab cakes from Pappas.
That'd be great. And, I can't wait to tell the fans here in Toronto that I was on a podcast with Mike Bordick.
All right. Thanks so much, Buck. Appreciate it, man.
Thank you, guys. We'll see you in Baltimore.
Sounds good. All right.
All right. He was great.
Yeah, he is.
Man,
One of the best in the game, man. A lifer. Yeah, absolutely. A true Renaissance man for sure.
Take a swing at a healthier mouth and a better-looking smile with my dental team at Catonsville Dental Care. Catonsville Dental Care is a winning team of caring dental professionals who treat you like family. You will love their clean, friendly office, where your comfort and care are their top priorities. Catonsville Dental Care has more than 2,000 five-star Google reviews and received many awards, such as Top Dentist and Top Workplace. Catonsville Dental Care accepts most insurances and offers convenient hours, before or after work, and some Saturdays, too. Mention the Jerry Special for your $149 new patient visit, or receive $500 off your Invisalign treatment. So get off the bench. Call Catonsville Dental Care today. At Pappas Restaurants, we've been serving up Maryland's best crab cakes for over 5 decades, and now we make it easier than ever to get your favorites. With 4 restaurants and sports bar locations across Harford County, Baltimore County, and Anne Arundel County, you can stop in for fresh seafood, ice-cold drinks, and wall-to-wall TVs. But if you can't make it in, don't worry. We'll bring Pappas to you. Our new state-of-the-art shipping and commissary location on Bel Air Road in Nottingham means you can pick up fresh-made meals or have our famous crab cakes and seafood shipped anywhere in the country. Dine in, pick up, or ship nationwide. However you Pappas, we've got you covered. Order now at pappascrabcakes.com.
There are a lot of myths out there about how the Maryland lottery works. Playing the lottery responsibly means knowing what's true and what's not. The facts are, all games have similar odds. You should never try to recover losses by taking more risks. And you shouldn't play the lottery when you're feeling stressed. But the biggest fact is, you should always play responsibly. Learn more facts and myths at mdlottery.com, and please play responsibly.
The Bmore Baseball Podcast welcomes Relief Shop. Shop Maryland's largest adult use and medical cannabis menu, located at 1114 Cathedral Street in Baltimore, with medical delivery available throughout Maryland 7 days a week. Only at Relief Shop. It's saving season at Lido Pizza. 99-cent refreshing iced teas for spring and summer. Or $6 calzones every Tuesday. There are tons of new deals and rewards for everyone. Exclusively at LidoPizza.com or on the Lido Pizza app. Lido Pizza, a local legend since 1955. Proud partner of the Baltimore Orioles. Effective Solutions, your one-stop shop for commercial contracting. Everything from excavation and site development to emergency remediation and restoration. Effective Solutions specializes in many forms of commercial and mixed-use construction. With a dedicated staff and a commitment to quality, Effective Solutions delivers every time. Everyone knows Greenmount Station in Hampstead, but did you know that at Greenmount Station you can bet 7 days a week just like you're at the track? With in-person teller windows and state-of-the-art touchscreen kiosks. And with Greenmount Station's brand new Bet Park Sportsbook, you can bet on all other sports as well, wherever you are in Maryland. Spreads, money lines, live bets, props, parlays, and teasers. The Bet Parks Maryland mobile app is now live for Apple and Android devices, so you'll never miss your next big score. Just search for Bet Parks MD in the Apple App Store or on Google Play. 21 and over only. Please play responsibly. For help, call 1-800-GAMBLER. At Heller Coates, we ensure peace of mind. Our mission, to educate, design, and protect, ensuring that you get the right insurance at the right price. Whether it's home and auto, life, disability, long-term care, or employee benefits, our deep understanding of personal and business life cycles allows us to tailor solutions just for you. We specialize in strategic insurance planning for those who value protection. Ready to take the next step? Get in touch for no-obligation 360 policy review at insurance@hellercoates.com.
We move on to our For the Birds portion, Bordy. It's sponsored by our friends over at the Maryland Lottery. Playing the Maryland Lottery responsibly means knowing what's true and what's not about your favorite games. Learn the facts and the myths at marylandlottery.com. That's mdlottery.com, and please play responsibly. All right, so the Orioles are bringing back 37-year-old Kyle Gibson, who led the team in wins in 2023. Signed a 1-year deal, still needs spring training. But the bigger question is the age of this rotation with Gibson, who's, I mentioned, 37, Charlie Morton at 41, Tomo Yuki, I think I got it the first time, Sagano, he's 35, as we know. That's a veteran rotation, Bordick.
Yeah. Oh, it sure is, and I think, well, the latest algorithm shows that if you're 35 and over, you're going to have a successful major league career. I'm not sure about that. I think this is risky. I know they're getting him for a reason, and that's because they're running out of arms. The injuries have just been devastating for the Orioles. You think about the last time Gibson was on this team just 2 years ago, he led this team in wins, but there was a slew of young arms behind him. Bradish, Wells. Well, Kramer was on that team, but everybody else got hurt and not a part of it anymore. So they're hoping he can add just more arms. Listen, all of Major League Baseball, I think, is at a loss of arms, and everybody's looking for ways to develop arms and at least get major league guys in there. Keep your fingers crossed, because all these guys have had really good success. They're just older, and you just wonder about the wear and tear. And I think the Orioles will be lucky if they can get over 100 innings out of each of these guys. That's keeping your fingers crossed.
It also makes me wonder, Bordy, because he comes at a time when 5 potential starters, including Grayson Rodriguez and Kyle Bradish, are on the injured list. Yeah. And for how long with Rodriguez?
No, exactly. There's a lot of mysteries. They're taking their time. I think the quote from Elias was he's starting at square zero. I don't know if that's a real true phrase or not. He said it, but square zero. Anyway, so he
started at square one for the
There you go. Exactly. I thought it was square one. But yeah, so he's got to ease his way back. I think they're going to be really careful with him. I know we talked about they made adjustments to his delivery, and they don't know. I don't know if they think it put too much extra stress on that elbow or behind the arm. I know Dr. Jacobs thought that potentially could have been the reason. So they're kind of walking on eggshells right now with their whole rotation, but they're no different than any other team in MLB right now.
Well, I may have started on square one, but I've certainly regressed to square zero during my career. All right, Gunnar Henderson. We've talked an awful lot about him the last couple of weeks, dealing with this intercostal injury. It's official. He's going to miss the start of the season. In fact, the first 6 games will miss the opening series in Toronto, maybe play the finale against the Red Sox when they come to town to start the season here. But who plays shortstop? It seems like Jackson Holliday is the natural, at least against the righties. But what about left-handed pitchers?
No, I know. I'm really concerned about this. I just wish they would give it to Soto and let him go play defense and not disrupt Westberg or Holliday, because I feel like if Holliday goes to short, then they're going to move Westberg to second. And that's 2 young players that, are hoping to get off to a strong start of the season. I mean, Westberg was an all-star and he moved around a little bit last year. He may be, a little bit more mentally durable because he was a college guy. I just worry about Holliday, man. He's had all he could do to handle second base in the big leagues. I know he's in a better headspace right now, but I am a firm believer. Just let him alone and let him adjust to second. Shortstop in the big leagues, that can snowball in a hurry if things start falling behind. It is a tough, challenging position.
He has experience there, but not much at the major league level. We're going to see how long Gunner's out. Hopefully not for long. All right. Traveling beyond Baltimore means our national and sometimes international perspective. It's all brought to you by Relief Shop, Baltimore's best adult use and medical cannabis dispensary, with 700 plus unique menu items and home delivery available for medical patients. Same day home delivery available from Relief Shop. Let's do a quick AL East preview. We talked about it with Buck earlier in the podcast. Where do you have the 5 teams? We talked about the injuries, and not just with Gunnar and Grayson on the IL. We know about the Yankees, and he mentioned the 2 pitchers and Cole and Heel and McClanahan in Tampa. Right now, I have the Orioles 3rd, keeping it real. I still have the Yankees on top of the division because I feel like they have the resources to go out and repair the damage with these injuries to pitchers. They can overcome that. Then I have the Red Sox, who added strong pitching in Crochet and Buehler and Bergman at third base in the offseason. Then I have the Orioles. And I think the Rays and Jays are going to fight for whoever stays out of the cellar, really. I think they're fighting right now to avoid the basement.
Yeah. Well, Buck should lead you to believe that the Blue Jays might be a little sleeper with their rotation. True. And I kind of tend to agree. And I think a lot hinges on, is Bo going to come back and be Bo Bichette? Because they do have strength up the middle, and adding Santander, so they're going to have a little bit more offensive punch. It's always going to come down to the pitching and who can withstand the American League East. I think the Yankees are going to be on top, like you said, because of their resources. They'll just go out and try to buy somebody if they need that. And I think other teams are just looking to stockpile arms. And I think the Orioles have to be aggressive in that way, because if one of their veteran pitchers goes down, then it's a mystery. Are we just going to wait for the other pitchers to come back from the IL? And are they going to be okay coming off the IL after Tommy John surgery? It doesn't work like magic water. Once your surgery is done and your rehab's done, you're going to be a great major league pitcher again. There's a process you go through and many times it takes a whole year before you truly get the feel back.
All right. Now, around Major League Baseball, there's an adjustment for the players. And it's not just getting fitted for your uniform before opening day begins. It's finding a place to live, dealing with the cold weather. That's quite an adjustment after spending, 6 weeks in Florida or Arizona and then moving north?
It's not an easy transition. I think everybody thinks, okay, you play Major League Baseball, whatever. I don't want to hear you complain. Think about spring training. You're down there for over a month. You're playing games primarily in the afternoon, in the sun and in the wind. When you go north, now your scheduled games are a little bit later at night. So your circadian rhythm gets thrown off a little bit. When do you sleep? When do you wake up? It's the life of a Major League Baseball player. And it takes a while, especially early in the season, to make those adjustments. You're dealing with time changes too. The Orioles are going to be flying around back and forth. So that first month of the season, not only are you dealing with these time changes and travel disruptions, but you're also dealing with cold weather climates, different situations on the field, higher risk for injury. Down in Florida in spring training, you step out and you're already loose, right? You just move around a little bit, you're breaking a sweat, and you're ready to go. It is a huge adjustment that I think sometimes goes unnoticed, and why every major league player keeps their fingers crossed to get some hits early in this cold weather kind of climate. Because if you start off slow, it's really hard to grind your way out. If you get a couple hits, you build your confidence and you can kind of fight through the distractions in the first month of the season.
And make sure to find a home where the heat really works well, especially in April and maybe parts of May. Who knows, until it warms up for good here in the Charm City. All right, let's classy up the podcast with another edition of What's Up, Doc. What's Up, Doc is sponsored by the Baltimore Chamber Orchestra. Here, Baltimore's second orchestra perform at 3 p.m. on Sunday, May the 11th at Goucher College. Visit thebco.org to buy tickets and learn more. Again, thebco.org. Doc, welcome. Dr. Michael Jacobs is a former Orioles team doctor for 3 decades, just back from Sarasota. I wanted to ask you first, Doc, what does a team doctor have to do to get ready for the start of the season? What are some of the duties of the team doctor? And what about the adjustment, like we just talked about, to the cold weather? Does that factor into some of your thinking?
Well, first of all, that was a great section with the Buck. I want to compliment you guys. And I also have spoken to a number of catching coaches, and all the veteran coaches do not like the one knee catching technique. It really does kind of drive them crazy. Getting ready for the season is routine. Basically, you want to get your players healthy. That's always the primary care. And then there's always a meeting, and that's changed a bit. In the old days, the trainers and I would meet, go over every player, and then Gillick or whoever was the GM would come down and say, who's got problems? And that meeting would be pretty brief. Today, everything's a Zoom meeting, so it includes more people, and it's more detailed. But in the end, you just go through every player who's on the major league roster and major minor league players, and you update the front office people on their status. And you do that in a comprehensive way at the end of spring training. And then you go through all your pitchers, where they are in their rehab steps, and that's usually handled by the trainers. They really understand short toss, long toss, flat, get off the mound, but you'll go over their schedules, but that's largely driven by the training staff. And then any players who have little issues will again come to you, and you'll go over any special equipment people need, like if somebody's coming off a hand injury, they may have special gloves or whatnot. And then you emphasize the need to warm up and do your pregame rituals better once you get north and you're excited. And certainly, other than the people who are on the bubble, I think Mike can agree, all the veteran players just want the season to start. By that last week, they're tired of spring training, and they just want to get up and start playing games.
Yeah, and there's definitely awareness, too, of reestablishing a routine, which I think is crucial for a major league player because it gets completely disrupted. Doc, I want to change subjects a little bit and head over to our closer, the Mountain, and Felix Bautista. And, think about his rehab a little bit and what I guess he's out of rehab now, but what fans should expect. I kind of dove into this a little bit, and looking at the mountain and the year he had a couple years ago as the best closer and arguably the MVP, I think, in the American League. I mean, that's how good he was, just so dominant. And I look back in time, and there was a pitcher in the American League that played for the Twins named Joe Nathan, stud, every year, all-star, got Tommy John surgery, came back a year later and was a shell of himself. His earned run average went up to near 5, but the next year he was that all-star closer again. Is that what we kind of should expect from Batista, or are guys just completely different and Batista could be a stud again?
Well, we discussed Batista before, and as I said, there's getting his velocity back, which usually drops a tick or two after the first year. And then, of course, they're seeing if he is going to continue with the same pitch mix or try to add something different to complement that, and that's done by the coaching staff. And then there's his confidence. Since he's always had some control issues, he has to believe in himself. And again, the performance coaches will work with him. You're right about Joe Nathan, but there's not much similarity between the two. If you look at Batista, he pitched 2 years of 67, 68 innings before his elbow went down. And he's in his late 20s because he was a late starter due to his control. Joe Nathan was 36 when his ulnar collateral ligament went out. Joe Nathan at 36 had already had 9 years of between 70 and 90 innings behind him. So he had already mastered Major League Baseball. And everybody is trying to figure out what are your chances of coming back from UCL surgery. And of course, it's impossible to do that because every pitcher is different. Every pitcher has different motion. Every pitcher has different pitches. But the one thing that always comes through is that if you've been in the majors for a period of time, you're more likely to come back and be successful because you know how to handle the process. So Joe Nathan definitely knew how to handle the process. In addition, if you look, as you did, at the various stats websites, Joe Nathan threw between 94 and 95 all through his career before the surgery. Right after the surgery, he actually was up to close to 95, but he's dropped to maybe 93 to 94, but he wasn't pitching. He was, I should say, it makes me laugh. I say he was only throwing 95. Right. You know, in today's world, that's routine, but he wasn't throwing 99. So he threw 94, 95 before surgery. In 2011, his first year, he dropped a bit. By 2012, when he regained all-star status and made the all-star team, he was back up to like 94.5. And if you look at his pitch mix, it didn't change. He didn't add anything. So he was a veteran pitcher, threw 95, took a year to get the feel back, and then he kind of went back to where he was as a veteran pitcher, and he pitched to like 42.
Yeah. So
he knew what he was doing. In Batista's case, he's only got 2 years major league experience. He throws 99. And so at the present time, to me, he really needs to get his velocity up to be the same pitcher he was before, unless the preseason statistics or analytics indicate he's added another pitch, which I don't know. But if he's changed a bit in his pitch selection, then it might be quicker. But since he's pretty much a pure power pitcher, I think it's more difficult for him to pitch at 95, as absurd as that sounds, as opposed to getting that fear factor 99-mile, 100-mile fastballs. You know, where you should, I'm guessing you know as a hitter that when guys throw over 100, it's got to put something in your head that well, maybe he's a little wild, maybe he doesn't know where this ball's going. So I think that's part of his aura is the outrageous velocity. So it's really a question of, did the Orioles make any adjustments to his pitch mix to compensate for a progressive building of his velo?
Hey, Doc, in closing, before we let you go, I know you have more coming up with Chip during our overtime portion on our YouTube page, but how was the trip down in Sarasota?
The trip was great. I must say, I saw briefly Eve Rosenbaum and Elias, and briefly I saw Hyder, and they're all incredibly relaxed. They're all feeling very good about everything. And just to comment on your preview things, I think the American League East, depending on the pitching injuries, could have all 5 teams in the playoff race in September. Yeah. And it could remind me of 1971 when the Mets ended up making the World Series, and I think they were 1 game over 500 in the American League East when they had Matlack, Seaver, and Gentry. And I think depending how the injuries go, all 5 teams could be in the mix. And despite the money the Yankees have, there might not be that much talent out there to spend it on.
Good point.
So it could be a real free-for-all out there. And I think the Orioles are confident, be it fair or unfair, that their veterans will get them through half a season, and that either Bradish or Tyler will be able to give them support by the middle of the summer. And since I haven't watched them rehab, they may have reason to feel that one or both of those young men have been pitching at an accelerated rate so that they can be helpful by the middle of July. I also want to wish John Means well with Cleveland in his comeback. He's a great guy. He had a bad break. He knows how to pitch, and I personally think he's going to be effective this year. I don't know about you, Mike and Jerry, but I think he has the potential to be very helpful to Cleveland.
I agree.
Yeah. Hope so. He's a former guest, and hopefully we'll get him on again. And Doc, thanks for your input. We'll look for you on the overtime segment. Brought to us by the Baltimore Chamber Orchestra, by the way. And thanks to all our loyal sponsors out there.
Take a swing at a healthier mouth and a better-looking smile with my dental team at Catonsville Dental Care. Catonsville Dental Care is a winning team of caring dental professionals who treat you like family. You will love their clean, friendly office, where your comfort and care are their top priorities. Catonsville Dental Care has more than 2,000 five-star Google reviews and received many awards, such as Top Dentist and Top Workplace. Catonsville Dental Care accepts most insurances and offers convenient hours before or after work, and some Saturdays too. Mention the Jerry Special for your $149 new patient visit, or receive $500 off your Invisalign treatment. So get off the bench. Call Catonsville Dental Care today.
There are a lot of myths out there about how the Maryland lottery works. Playing the lottery responsibly means knowing what's true and what's not. The facts are, all games have similar odds. You should never try to recover losses by taking more risks. And you shouldn't play the lottery when you're feeling stressed. But the biggest fact is, you should always play responsibly. Learn more facts and myths at mdlottery.com, and please play responsibly.
At Pappas Restaurants, we've been serving up Maryland's best crab cakes for over 5 decades, and now we make it easier than ever to get your favorites. With 4 restaurants and sports bar locations across Harford County, Baltimore County, and Anne Arundel County, you can stop in for fresh seafood, ice-cold drinks, and wall-to-wall TVs. But if you can't make it in, don't worry. We'll bring Pappas to you. Our new state-of-the-art shipping and commissary location on Bel Air Road in Nottingham means you can pick up fresh-made meals or have our famous crab cakes and seafood shipped anywhere in the country. Dine in, pick up, or ship nationwide. However you Pappas, we've got you covered. Order now at pappascrabcakes.com. The Bmore Baseball Podcast welcomes Relief Shop. Shop Maryland's largest adult use and medical cannabis menu, located at 1114 Cathedral Street in Baltimore, with medical delivery available throughout Maryland 7 days a week. Only at Relief Shop. It's saving season at Lido Pizza. 99-cent refreshing iced teas for spring and summer, or $6 calzones every Tuesday. There are tons of new deals and rewards for everyone, exclusively at LidoPizza.com or on the Lido Pizza app. Lido Pizza, a local legend since 1955, proud partner of the Baltimore Orioles. Effective Solutions, your one-stop shop for commercial contracting. Everything from excavation and site development to emergency remediation and restoration. Effective Solutions specializes in many forms of commercial and mixed-use construction. With a dedicated staff and a commitment to quality, Effective Solutions delivers every time. Everyone knows Greenmount Station in Hampstead, but did you know that at Greenmount Station you can bet 7 days a week just like you're at the track? With in-person teller windows and state-of-the-art touchscreen kiosks. And with Greenmount Station's brand new Bet Park Sportsbook, you can can bet on all other sports as well, wherever you are in Maryland. Spreads, money lines, live bets, props, parlays, and teasers. The BetParks Maryland mobile app is now live for Apple and Android devices, so you'll never miss your next big score. Just search for BetParks MD in the Apple App Store or on Google Play. 21 and over only. Please play responsibly. For help, call 1-800-GAMBLER. At Heller Coates, we ensure peace of mind. Our mission, to educate, design, and protect, ensuring that you get the right insurance at the right price. Whether it's home and auto, life, disability, long-term care, or employee benefits, our deep understanding of personal and business life cycles allows us to tailor solutions just for you. We specialize in strategic insurance planning for those who value protection. Ready to take the next step? Get in touch for no obligation 360 policy review at insurance@hellercoates.com.
We do want to thank senior executive producer Chip Franklin for putting this latest episode together. Chip loves to play the stock market. In fact, he just bought thousands of shares of Hooters stock. He sees a bright future in that company. I don't know if he got the memo that they're going out of business. Until next time, though, folks, be real, be kind, and make sure to be back for another episode of the Bmore Baseball Podcast and play ball.
Do you know who I am? I'm kind of a big deal.